questions and comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just following on from my political colleague, John Tamahiri and Mike Lee, on the top lines that Councillor Lee has pointed to us there as far as OPEX and CAPEX and the $5.6 billion figure, the question is, it really does put to us, when we're looking at Maori freehold land, when we're poring over local board initiatives and submissions, that why haven't we got more visibility on OPEX? And I know in local government up and down the country they'll tell you that there is a move for CAPEX to be the realm of governors and for OPEX to be only the realm of management. And I would have thought, other than the sole figure of 3.6 billion OPEX in the mayoral proposal, that we would have at least had a breakdown as to the variation from the LTP. I appreciate with the government's local government amends of a couple of years ago that more emphasis, more consultation, more documentation is put on the LTP. But this seems extraordinarily light when we're looking at $3.6 billion, and that is what our rate is striped on, the level of OPEX, that we don't even see how the CCO OPEX that was projected in last year's LTP is tracking for 16-17 actual compared to budget. For example, we know that in the LTP that we're giving 295 million OPEX to our CCOs, up 11 million from the current financial year. We're giving 10% more to ATED in our LTP, from 50 million to 55 million. Yet there's been no explanation of, again, not wanting to go down to every departmental line, but the variations, which I think is important from annual plan. Where have we varied from our LTP and why? And we haven't seen it at any level within the organisation, the parent, and we certainly haven't seen it from any level within the CCOs. We did get a presentation from ATED, and they told us how well tourism was going, but I don't think they mentioned the 5 million more that was coming their way, as was projected in the LTP for 16-17. We don't even know if they got that 5 million in this document. Did they go to 55 million? We haven't been informed. The public could not make an information as to what CCOs have been given more, what have remained at the same, like RFA was pitching for 30 as they were last year. ACIL, you know, they were looking at a contribution of 68 million this financial year. Are they tracking for that? Panuku Auckland, are they tracking for to be able to give the land sale divestment program as much as we hope they would in the LTP? How did they go in this current financial year? So I suppose my question is, why aren't we as governors able to see more transparency around top line OPEX and the variations and explanations as to how 16-17 sits with the 2015 LTP for how we thought 16-17 should look? And I'd be interested in officers' reasoning why most of our reason for being here, striking the rate, this $3.6 billion, has no explanation other than one mention at the bottom of a mayoral proposal.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Well, for a start, Councillor, you've been sitting in the same committees we've all been sitting for the last year, basically dealing with month-by-month assessments of performance against the budget. That's the first thing. Secondly, as we know, this is a 3-year cycle. We go through an LTP, and we went through it line by line through the LTP for weeks and months. We've been getting updates every month on the state of the balance sheet and finances. And so recently, of course, we've had the CCOs on 2 occasions come to us and report how they are proceeding against their budgets. Now, I don't know whether or not you were there But that has been a constant and consistent reframe. What you've got there is a snapshot of exactly where we are at the moment, but we are constantly getting updates on each of the CCO's financial performance and how we're proceeding. So, Matthew, do you have anything further to add to that?
No, I mean, perhaps just drawing attention, page 219, I mean, we've stepped through the key movers in terms of the operating budget that are driving the rating discussion. And it's been, you know, the Mayor has stressed it, and it's been the nature in which the work has been undertaken that we've started with, and the underlying bedrock is year 2 LTP. There was a big conversation on that. That's been the starting point. There's been a bit of a refresh. We've reported back on the refresh. We've itemised the movements, and that's what's on the table.
It's just, is there any reason, Andrew, why we go chapter and verse on our CapEx program, our $1.9 billion CapEx program, from page 226 to 242 in size 5 font, line item by line item, but we have no visibility on the $3.6 billion group OPEX program?
I'm not sure the question is. The question is there any reason? So I guess the organisation's become accustomed to ensuring that the capital program is outlined line by line so that governors can get a sense of those investment commitments. And perhaps to some extent there is a sense that throwing what would probably be millions of lines at you in terms of operating budgets may not be helpful.
Well, Madam Chair, we're constantly asked that if we want to put up anything on the table, we need to make trade-offs, and it's very hard when there's a hole of $3.6 billion in this documentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Councillor Crum.
Oh, thanks. I was actually trying to text Councillor Wood to see whether he could answer this for me, but he hasn't. He's not looking at his phone. So I'll have to
He's
ask
next,
it.
so he might have got it.
So my question is, by how much are we on debt headroom again? By how much are we under the S&P 270%? Have we actually been given a dollar figure by how much we're under that? And I seem to, was it you, Councillor Wood, that mentioned 165?
That's what I said the other day, yeah, when
Yep.
I added it all up.
Can we get a comment on that?
So, through the chair, so Councillor Wood's calculations are pretty good. It's in that order, but I would point out to you that there are two numbers, aren't there? So there's debt on the top and revenue on the bottom, and one of the drivers of the 2 or 3% adverse movement relative to LTP has been a reduction in some of our CCO revenue lines. So I'd just stress I wouldn't oversimplify it. You've got two important levers in the mix, both debt and revenue.
Without wanting to oversimplify it and recognising it wouldn't be a policy, but has there been any sort of prevailing thoughts on whether we make that sell down on some of the DFA portfolios subject to we being under 100 million or under 110 or under 120? Where do we pitch and land?
Through the chair, what staff have done is just elevate and make it clear to you that there is one number of several and one important consideration of many in Standard & Poor's credit rating assessment of the organisation. And so what we've elevated is one of those numbers where we wanted to draw it to your attention. We've been watching it. It is the debt to revenue. They look at many other things. The reports are available to you. You can work through those. And at this point, in putting together this budget, it's just what's on the table. We're simply saying, hey, we think 265 as a bit of a limit, which would keep it in line with the same limit for year 2 of the LTP, is a sensible place to go. And you've got a tool in the toolbox. That means where you don't have to go is a decision around cutting CapEx, which I recall from the LTP was not straightforward. and population growth is booming, and so there are investment demands, and so we're giving you the ability to maintain the CapEx program, not trading off the credit rating profile, by utilising the DFA portfolio in a manner in which both Cameron Partners and EY laid out.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wood.
Oh yeah, well, the first question I've got, I was just interested in this, the Mayor mentioned this 5.6 billion figure, which is, you seem to be adding the capital program and the operating expenditure together. Are they, independent of one another? Because I would have thought that in the operating expenditure there would be capital spend. Is that correct or not?
So through the Chair, if you wanted to add the two together because you were interested in the actual cash spend, the adjustment you would make is to reduce the operating budget by about 700 million, which is the group depreciation line.
So
then what you would be articulating is the amount of money the council is budgeting to spend at a group level on an annual basis.
So that's the renewal which is funded out of rates, is it? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so that 5.6 is a bit kind of, it may not be, well, I mean, it's a figure that's just been dropped in this morning, and I'm just kind of trying to define exactly what it means, but I thought that would be the case, that renewals would probably come out of it, but okay, that's helpful. The other question I've just got, Mr Mayor, is the 150 million that you're talking about putting into deliver town and local centre clean-up. 150,000, sorry.
Is that your amendment, George?
No. Just a mistake. I was just flicking the page over. Sorry about that. And I think you talked about 30 locations. Or 50. 50. So that only leaves, if you divide that out, it's a pretty low per
3,000.
3,000
per location.
So do you think that that's going to have the desired effect that is going to kind of placate the concerns that were raised by the local boards the other day? I thought that they were kind of more than just town centres.
Yeah. This is not designed specifically or only to placate any of the concerns the local boards might have with their town centres. It's for us to take a regional approach to the fact that we have something like 187 villages across Auckland, some of them larger than others. And there are some, and I used, for example, the other day, George, the work that we did in Glen Eden, where we basically had a small makeover weekend, where the local board worked in with the local community, local trusts, and agencies to give the city, give the township something of a spring clean. Yeah. And what was missing from that, and what I would hope to see come out of this, was the real benefit that occurred when we put what we call Main Street makeovers into place in the final days of Manukau. And that was the trusts at that point in time. Is utilised by trusts because the local community boards didn't have anything like the clout that the local boards have now, and they could most certainly be at the coalface of this work. Working in beside the local business owners. So all of the bids support this. The local business owners would either do or not take the opportunity of putting together contracts for painting front signboards and the frontage of their buildings to actually give the sense of the township receiving an absolute spring clean and something of a makeover. So the 3,000 is really a bit of seeding funding to encourage significant further investment by the local community townships. Now, it worked very successfully in the south. I see no reason at all why it wouldn't help to springboard activity right around the other townships within the whole of the Auckland region.
And it goes along with the work that Dean's doing as well.
Okay, look, I'll just reserve my speaking rights on that later. Thanks.
Now, I've got Councillor Watson and then Councillor Filipaina, and then I think we might have come to the end of questions, and I intend to take a 3-minute break, and then we'll go into amendments, okay? So, Councillor Watson.
Okay, thanks. My question is on the diversified financial assets portfolio, and I'm not sure if it's Matthew, if you're the best place to answer this. It might be the CEO possibly. And it follows on from some of the points Councillor Crum was making in terms of the advice that was given Council. Council's been quick enough to pick up, the suggestion that we draw down on this asset. But one of the first things that they recommended was to undertake consultation with appropriate stakeholders, which I assume to be the public.